Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Lovecats in the True Off My Chest subreddit. The post is titled, "My husband is cheating on me with our best friend. I recently found out that my husband, 42, is cheating on me with our married best friend, 32. She is the godmother to our 4 children. They don't know that I know, but I caught them making out at the end of our driveway when he was seeing her off after dinner with our family. We live on a small acreage and the driveway is a long way from the main house. She had forgotten some crockery at the house and I decided to walk it over because for some reason the two of them always took a while to say goodbye. Now I know why. That's when I saw them, illuminated by her car's headlights, making out in the front seat with our best friend straddling my husband. In shock, I didn't know whether to throw her Pyrex at the car or just walk away. I decided on the latter and was too shocked to cry or be angry. When my husband got back, I had to pretend like everything was normal. I know that it's stupid, but I couldn't sleep that night and decided to go through his phone. She was obviously under a pseudonym, but I found a handful of their messages dating back 2 or 3 years. Her husband doesn't know. He's currently posted overseas as a diplomat. I'm sick with rage and betrayal. I'm lost and have no idea what steps to take next. Update. Wow, I didn't expect this much support. It's really overwhelming. Just to clarify a few things, this is a private account I created just for this post away from my usual account because I was scared it would be traced back to me. I want to remain as anonymous as possible. I don't live in the US, but in Australia. Technically, I can't file for divorce immediately since you need to be separated for 1 year and 1 day to file officially. My now ex-best friend just recently returned to the country. Her father has cancer after being posted with her husband overseas. The dinner was to welcome her home. What a welcome. There are some comments here about the headlights illuminating them. Sorry, I meant overhead lights. As to what I'm going to do now, a part of me just wants to confront my husband and see what lame excuse he has, but I need to get away from him. This level of betrayal physically hurts. I can't help but think of all the times we spent together over the years and how long our families were fooled. My mind is going crazy. When she was single and he would rescue her from some bad date, or the times they were alone in my house when the kids and I were out. How irrationally angry he was when he found out she had a boyfriend and then chose to marry him. Thinking back on it, the two of them disappeared at her wedding. When I asked him where he was, he said he needed to reassure her that she had done the right thing. I feel so sick thinking of these things. Update. Thank you everyone for your concern and advice. As of tomorrow, my husband is out of town. I've tried really hard to act normal around my now ex-best friend, but it's proving difficult and I feel sick. I have been telling both of them that I've caught some terrible bug and just not feeling myself. While my husband is out of town for the next few days, my sister-in-law, who is the only other person who knows, will help me pack important documents and store them somewhere my husband doesn't know about. I've organized for my kids to stay with them for a week while I sort my situation out. I've spoken to a family lawyer and they have told me that the best way to start the separation procedure is to no longer be living under the same roof. I'm fortunate in that most of our assets are also in my name and the land our house is on was gifted to us by my parents. I'm planning to kick him out after his trip. But before that, I want to catch them both in the act again. I want to have some hard proof, send it to the ex-friend's husband, and get the ball rolling for moving on with my life. I'll update with what happens after the confrontation. Update. My husband came home 2 nights ago from his trip. While he was gone, I had organized a lot of important documents, anything that he could potentially use to try and get more than what he deserves. They are now safely stored, and my kids have been staying with their aunt and uncle for the past few days. I had packed all my husband's things, and he had been really good at keeping his tracks clean because there was no evidence of his affair within his belongings. I placed all his possessions in the garage, ready for the confrontation with him. I was super nervous because I wasn't sure if I was making the right decision. Once he came home and I remembered seeing him kissing our best friend, I remembered the deep hurt they had caused. I was in our kitchen when he came home and he knew straight away something was wrong. During that week, I had been distant and had barely answered his texts and screened his calls. I did answer every now and then and gave the kids a chance to speak to their dad. He asked why I hadn't been responding to his texts and tried to kiss me, but I turned away. Before I knew it, the first words out of my mouth were, "I want a separation." I have to admit that he didn't look very surprised when I said it. He nodded his head and said, "What do you know?" Which was just a punch in the gut because I wanted him to deny it or say something like it was a one-off thing. I asked him to tell me everything, like when did it start? He said they started about 10 years ago, at first with flirtatious messaging and a sneaky kiss in the office when they briefly worked together. The affair was on and off. She apparently always felt guilty, and her way out of that was to marry the next man that was interested in her and proposed. He admitted that they had hooked up on her wedding day and that when he is out of town, they meet. At this point, I couldn't breathe and was sobbing. I hated that the next words out of my mouth were, "Did you even ever love me?" He hesitated and said yes, of course, but he was never in love with me the way he was with her. I cleared my throat and said to him that he should tell her husband. There is no point hiding it anymore. I told him that all his stuff was in the garage and he could find somewhere else to stay. I let him know that I had spoken to a family lawyer and that when I feel ready, and only when I feel ready, will we see each other again and talk about future arrangements for the kids. I said any further communication can be done through my sister-in-law or my brother. I said he is allowed to see the kids, but only at their place. I am of course wanting full custody of the children because it hurts too much to give him anything at this point. He agreed to all my points because he knew he was in the wrong. He tried to say sorry, and then I absolutely lost my composure and screamed, "No way are you sorry. For 10 damn years, you have both deceived everyone we know. Please take your shit and leave and tell that woman you have been for 10 years that I do not ever want to see her face again." Certainly not my shining moment, but also a culmination of all the hurt and anger over the last few weeks that they have caused. I have no intention of talking to my ex-best friend or my soon-to-be ex-husband until I have had time to grieve. So thank you, community, for the encouragement and advice. I hope I can heal and move on from this. And a year after that, OP gave us her final update. Thank you to everyone who has been messaging over the last year to see how I'm doing and asking for an update. It's been a crazy, painful year, but our divorce has been finalized and I'm free. My ex-husband and my ex-best friend, as no surprise, are now in an actual relationship after the ex-best friend's husband found out about the affair. He divorced her, and since then, we have met up for coffee to check in on each other and our mental health. He's been great sending encouraging messages, and he lives overseas. From his Facebook updates, it seems he has started dating again, so I'm very happy for him. The legal and custody battles have been fairly stressful, but my ex-husband agreed to all my terms. Custody of the children was the only thing he really fought for. I have custody of the kids and he sees them on the weekends. The kids and I have all been going to therapy separately. My ex-husband wants to see them more, and during school breaks, the kids have the choice to stay with him or me. They have been good about it, staying with him for a week or so and then back to their mummy. Apart from necessary conversations, I steer clear of my ex-husband and the ex-best friend. It still hurts so much, and I understand that it will take time to heal, but I am letting go because I don't want them to have that level of influence over my life. I decided to sell the property we were living in and move closer to family and friends because, as you know, it takes a village. I have been extremely grateful for the support I have received over the last year. I'm tearing up just writing this, knowing that I couldn't have gone through all of this without my loved ones. As for myself, I am happy overall, still a work in progress, but grateful for life. The kids and I have been enjoying life, and when we have the time and money, we try to take little trips here and there so that the traumatic events of the divorce don't linger and can be replaced by good memories. Memories where they spent road trips and adventures with their mum. A deleted user said, "I am very impressed that you pretended you hadn't seen anything. I wouldn't have been able to. You need to book appointments with a divorce attorney so they can explain your options to you. You should document the cheating as that can help with the divorce. Can you take a video of yourself scrolling through the discussion thread messages? I know there is a lot of justified rage in you, but you have to stay rational and clear throughout this process. Lead with your head, not your gut. Stay cool and destroy his sorry ass with the law. And then tell your best friend's husband who he is really married to. I'd want to know if my spouse was a POS so I could get out instead of staying married. From one human being to another, I am sorry this happened to you. Good luck." User The Curious Cat said, "Collect all the evidence you can, even if it takes months. Continue to treat him well and fly under the radar. Privately meet with a lawyer. After you have adequate evidence, send a copy of all the information to her husband just before handing your husband the divorce papers. You can also forward this information in an email to all his friends and family. Leave and never look back. Co-parent for your kids, but cut him out of your life and find yourself. Forget that horrible friend, too." User Special Lychee said, "As many have said, collect the evidence, but I imagine that's more for you to use in case they try to gaslight you, or to send to her husband later on. Contact several divorce lawyers to get a plan of action and to make sure you and your children are protected as much as possible. After you have spoken to lawyers and made a plan of action with their advice, if you don't work outside of the household, start looking for a job or ways to be financially independent. Once you have a clear path lined out, sit your husband down and tell him a person of your choice is going to take over being the godmother to your children. It can be your sister if you have one that you have a good relationship with, or your mother, or anyone you prefer. If he asks why, make it clear that the person who helped him tear apart your family can't possibly have your kid's best interests at heart. Hand him the divorce papers and tell him how it's going to go from there on out. Send the proof to her husband if you want. If your families and mutual friends are on social media, you can make a business-like post stating that you have both decided to end your marriage. Depending on how private or not you are, you can mention that the decision was actually made by your soon-to-be ex-husband by being unfaithful. Of course, you're heartbroken and you're very grateful for your social network to be understanding and thankful for their support. Block the so-called best friend, and don't waste your energy hearing her explanation. You'll probably never be rid of her if they keep their affair going after the divorce, since she'll be part of your children's lives part-time, unfortunately. But the less you have to deal with her, the better for your mental health. Edit to add that OP could start looking for a job after speaking with a lawyer first. I thought advice being in a certain order would make that obvious, but to be clear, lawyer and plan first, then financial independence. This next post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled AITAH for bringing up just how much I actually do for our household to my wife. I can't believe I actually have a reason to post something on Reddit, but here I am. My wife 41F and I 42M have been married for 15 years. I apparently surprised her by being capable of doing household chores and tasks, which I didn't think much of. My mom always asked me to help out with chores when I was a kid, so I didn't think it was beneath me or anything. I do think I inherited her need to clean excessively. It's so bad that I can't eat until a mess is dealt with. My mom is an amazing cook, my aunt was a literal chef at a fancy hotel, and my dad loved having barbecues. It was pretty natural to learn from them and pick up a thing or two. The only thing I didn't pick up was how to make a decent cup of tea or coffee. I'm genuinely awful at it. It got to a point where I was handling most of the household chores and cooking, which I prefer anyway since she comes home exhausted. I've been asking our children 11F and 9M to do some minor tasks around the house in hopes of teaching them these skills too. She has a group of friends who hang out regularly, and this time it was her turn to host the group at our home. I offered to take our children out for the day and it was all set. Before we left, I had to finish up some things for work. The office space is practically on top of our living room, so I could hear what they were talking about the entire time. One of her friends asked how she always kept our house so spotless, and my wife just bragged about how she was responsible for it all. Then they all started talking about their gripes with their marriages. A common theme was how unhelpful their spouses were. I felt pretty uncomfortable, so I just left the office and went out with the kids. I came back after they had left for the night and acted normally until we got to our bedroom. I asked her what was up with that conversation they had and pointed out that I did the cooking and cleaning in our marriage. She told me not to take it personally and that she just wanted to fit in with the struggles of her friends. Now I just feel unappreciated, especially since I don't clearly remember any genuine gratitude from her for what I do. Since then, she's been pretty short with me. She says I'm weaponizing what I'm doing against her and holding it over her head. I don't expect her to compliment me each time I clean or defend me religiously, just a little. My husband is pretty helpful actually. He does his share, would be nice. I can't help but feel like her friends think I'm some sort of deadbeat who comes home to relax and neglects her. User Turmeric Ping said NTA. You're not weaponizing what you're doing against her. You're just insisting that she doesn't lie about you and badmouth you to her friends, which is exactly what she is doing. She knows that she is in the wrong here, hence her hostile response. She doesn't have a reasonable defense for her behavior. Personally, I wouldn't let this go. Her friends are people you will have to socialize with from time to time, and therefore what they think about you does matter. User Green Tea Shaman said NTA. It's bizarre that your wife would pretend that you don't help around the house. She didn't have to throw it in her friends' faces. She could have stayed silent or just said, yeah, he does help. Imagine she's being short with you because you do work around the house. What the hell? Most people would love to have a spouse who helps out. She doesn't get to be annoyed at you because you don't like the fact that she makes you out to be a terrible husband to her friends. She should be on your side. User Wooden Ad said she's 41 years old. Why is she trying to fit in and lie? Under this user Aromatic Dare said, I'm not trying to justify her behavior at all, but I'm going to tell you something about female friends and especially unhappily married or frustrated female friends. Firstly, my husband is very helpful. He cleans around the house, inside the house, cooks worse than I do, so I do most of that, and I don't mind it. I love to cook. He takes care of me when I'm sick, has great hygiene, and we can talk about anything and everything. He supports me, and I support him in everything. Anytime I have a conversation with some married females, whether they are my friends or just people I know, at one point they all start the my husband rant, and let me tell you how many of them think I'm so full of shit and fake for saying good things about mine. 90% of them, because 90% of the women I know got married to just the first guy they had great sex with, or because of the money, or because it was time to get married. None of them married an unselfish and giving person. They all married a man-child. Update. I am pretty shocked that this post went as viral as it did, and I tried my best to speak to my wife yesterday. I just can't believe that this is the woman I married. I tried talking with her, telling her that what she did wasn't that big of a deal, but was still not a nice thing to do. She didn't like me bringing it up again and just told me to suck it up and stop bitching about one mistake. She apologized, but in a tone that sounded like she was just tired of dealing with this. I noticed her getting very heated and on the verge of starting an argument, so I backed off and switched to a different topic. I asked if we could adjust our duties at home to be more fair for both of us, since most of our household management falls to me. I mean, pretty much 90% of things like cooking and cleaning, including planning for our date nights or vacations for our family, rely on me. I do think it's an issue that she gets to come home and just tell me that she's tired. Then she got up in my face, telling me I had no right to lecture her about chore duties when I'm practically at home most of the time. She completely refused to hear me out and basically told me that what we have works best for our situation. She threw it in my face that she was the moneymaker, and that balanced everything out in the end. Even this morning, she was pretty annoyed with me, coming downstairs in a bad mood. I'm very sure our kids noticed it too, but I drove them to school after they got ready. When I got back, I noticed that my wife left her packed lunch on the kitchen counter. So now I'm sitting here feeling like the woman I've known for 15 years hates me. I guess I'll have to address this issue properly, even if she gets angry. She's been ignoring my texts and attempts to call her. I can't just let her act like this, especially in front of our children. Update 2, I think I'm just done at this point. I did something I never did before and went into her phone while she slept. We both know each other's passwords, so it wasn't really difficult. Some of the cheating comments got to me, and I felt pretty paranoid about this situation. Instead, I found a group chat with some of her work friends. It was just non-stop mockery of me and some of the things I did for her. She told them how embarrassed she feels to be with me and that I dote on her like a parent and don't feel like her husband. The lunches I pack for her are humiliating because I add sweets and other treats I know she likes. Some of her co-workers teased her about the snacks I have in for her, and she admitted to just throwing them out at work. She doesn't have any issue eating them at home, but at work she throws out my baking. She had some choice words to say about me in her chat, some of which I don't have the courage to type out here. One of her meme pictures was of me on my knees scrubbing a bathroom tile, edited to have some sort of dress on like I was some sort of housewife from the 1960s or something. I just closed her phone and left the bedroom. I confronted her about the chat in the morning and the contents of it, which got her panicking. I focused on our kids this morning and left her to her own devices. It's not like she would have appreciated a kid's lunch anyway. Now she's texting me like crazy at the office, but I think I've lost all respect for her and what she's become. Not only does she find me overbearing and embarrassing as a husband, but then I find out she mocks me to her friends and exposes some sensitive relationship issues to her group chat. This will probably be the last update, since I don't think she can come back from this. We just celebrated our 15th anniversary last month too. I feel like a loser now after seeing what my wife actually thinks of me. Final update. I know I'm going to get some hate for my decision at the end of this, but I gave my wife one more chance. She gave me a real apology for her actions and how she treated me about 2 weeks ago. In her own words, she let her friends' comments at work and her best friend's opinions affect her too much. My wife wanted to feel included in the groups by playing both sides, one that has a useless husband and one that has a clingy husband. She's not using them as an excuse and did take full responsibility for how poorly she treated me, which is a plus. She suggested some sort of marriage counseling for us and insisted on doing the planning herself to show me she's dead serious about wanting to make this work. She's copied me in her communications with a counselor, but it'll still be a while before our first appointment. She stepped up at home too, doing more tasks without me asking. The compliments I used to receive have also made a return, so I do feel a little more appreciated. My wife promised me that she wouldn't lie to her friend group anymore and would give me the credit I deserve. As for the work friends I don't know about, their opinions on me will forever be as they are, even though she talked to them. Part of this feels disingenuous since it took us getting into a bad spot for this to happen. Maybe it's just resentment talking. I just hope this works out for our sake and the kids. And no, she has not been cheating or had some guy in her ear telling her things. A lot of messages are asking about that. User Ill Pride said now she's playing 3 sides. User That Quiet said, I'd assumed that your wife did the math multiple times and came to the realization that her life would be in the gutter if she went through with a divorce. Plus, she's the main income earner and you're the main caregiver, so you'd be entitled to a lot of money post-divorce. I say tread lightly and document things just to be on the safe side, but I do sincerely hope things work out for you. User Squish56 said, no hate, just sadness. She lied about you to her friends, doubled down and got angry with you when you were upset and didn't immediately drop it, and then simultaneously spent God knows how long mocking you to her work colleagues. She took the time to edit photos to belittle you and called you such horrible things that you couldn't repeat them. I hope you are right and this is the turning point, but I think individual counseling would be beneficial for you both. To help her figure out why she needs to disparage her spouse to fit in and for you to work through what she has done and build your self-confidence. Your spouse is supposed to be in your corner and have your back. Based on your description, you are a dream partner and she has completely disrespected you to seemingly anyone who would listen. You deserve better.